Most people hear Albania and picture concrete bunkers and communist apartment blocks, a grey, forgotten corner of Europe you'd fly over on the way to Greece. That was the Albania I expected. It took about 30 minutes after crossing the border to realise how wrong that picture was, because somewhere between the turquoise coves, the UNESCO mountain cities, and a 3-course seafood lunch that cost less than a sandwich on Santorini, Albania stopped being Europe's overlooked neighbour and started looking like its smartest travel destination for 2026. Albania sits on the western edge of the Balkans, pressed between Montenegro, Greece, and the Adriatic. The southern half of the country packs an unreasonable amount of variety into a compact space. Ottoman stone cities on mountainsides, ancient Greek ruins beside a lagoon, a riviera of white pebbled coves, and mountain passes with 1,000-foot drops to the sea. The international perception of Albania is still anchored somewhere around 1995. The country itself has moved on entirely. That gap between reputation and reality is the reason every stop ahead felt like a small revelation. And by the time you're standing at 1,000 metres above sea level, looking down at the Riviera from Llogara Pass, the distance between what you expected and what you've found becomes almost absurd. The journey south from Tirana tells the whole story, and it begins with a capital that looks nothing like you'd guess. Tirana has a reputation as chaotic and slightly rough, and the traffic seems to confirm it. Roundabouts operate on faith more than rules, and honking is a form of greeting. But step out of the car in the Blloku neighbourhood, and the picture shifts completely. During the communist era, this was the restricted quarter, where party elites lived. Ordinary Albanians couldn't set foot here without written permission. Today, it's the city's liveliest district. Tree-lined streets, packed with cafes, cocktail bars, and restaurants where a full dinner with wine runs about 12 to 15 euros. The transformation happened within a single generation. The city's centre tells a parallel story. In the early 2000s, Tirana's mayor, the artist Edi Rama, who later became prime minister, ordered the capital's drab communist facades painted in bold geometric patterns: orange, pink, teal, violet. The buildings underneath are still Soviet-era concrete, but the effect is startling. Skanderbeg Square, the central plaza, has been reimagined as a vast pedestrian space where families stroll on summer evenings and children ride bikes across the marble tiles. You don't need more than half a day in Tirana. It's not a city of grand museums. It's a city of energy and reinvention, and it sets the tone for everything that follows in Albania. From Tirana, a 2-hour drive south through the interior reaches Berat. The road climbs past olive groves and small farming villages where donkeys share the pavement with Mercedes-Benzes. Albania has a well-documented love affair with old Mercedes, and you'll spot them on every road in the country. Berat is called the City of 1,000 Windows, and the name is earned. On the hillside above the Osum River, white Ottoman houses climb one on top of another, their tall arched windows stacked so densely they seem to watch you from every angle. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and walking the cobblestone streets of the Mangalem Quarter feels like entering a museum, except the houses are still homes. Laundry dries on the balconies, and older residents sitting in doorways will wave you over to try homemade raki before you've even introduced yourself. The castle above town, Kala, is one of the rare fortresses in Europe where people still actually live inside the walls. Up among crumbling stone houses and small Byzantine churches with frescoed interiors, you'll find a handful of guest houses and restaurants with views stretching down the valley. Entry to the castle grounds is free. Inside, the Onfrey Museum displays icons by the 16th century Albanian painter Onfrey, known for a distinctive, almost startlingly vivid red pigment that art historians still can't fully explain. It costs a few euros and rewards the climb. Budget a full morning for Berat. The early light on those white walls is the kind of thing you plan around. From Berat, the road south to Gjirokastër takes roughly 2.5 hours, winding through increasingly dramatic mountain terrain. The valleys deepen, villages thin out, and the landscape shifts from soft olive country to something harder and more exposed. We've seen the Ottoman elegance of Berat. Its grey counterpart is waiting. If Berat is the city of 1,000 windows, Gjirokastër is the city of stone. Everything here is slate grey, the roofs, the walls, the streets, the enormous castle looming overhead, all built from the same local rock. It's another UNESCO site, and the Old Bazaar district is one of the finest surviving examples of Ottoman civic architecture anywhere in the Balkans. The castle is enormous. Inside, you'll find something nobody expects: a captured American military reconnaissance jet from the Cold War, sitting incongruously on the grounds like an art installation nobody commissioned. Gjirokastër was the birthplace of Enver Hoxha, Albania's communist dictator, and the city carries traces of that era, though it wears them now with a kind of deadpan, dark humour. Down in the bazaar, craft shops sell hand-woven textiles, and small restaurants serve slow-cooked lamb with yoghurt and rice for under €5. Weekdays are calmer than weekends, when Albanian families drive in from the coast. Late afternoon is the time to come. The stone catches warm light, and the shadows through the narrow lanes turn the whole town cinematic. Except here, the plate of lamb costs less than a coffee in Rome. 30 minutes south of Gjirokastër, a short detour off the main road reaches one of Albania's most striking natural features. The Blue Eye, Siri I Kaltër in Albanian, is a karst spring where water of an almost unreal shade of blue surges from a depth that has never been fully measured. Divers have descended past 50 meters without finding the bottom. The pool itself is maybe 15 meters across, and the color shifts from deep cobalt at its center to pale turquoise at the rim. Surrounding it, oak and sycamore forest keeps the site shaded and cool even in high summer. It's a national park with an entrance fee of about 100 lek, less than €1. The walk from the parking area takes 10 minutes on a well-maintained path, manageable for families and strollers with sturdy wheels. The water holds steady at around 12 degrees Celsius year-round, so most visitors admire rather than swim. A few brave ones do jump in, and the reactions are worth sticking around for. Arrive before 10 in the morning. By midday in July and August, the path gets crowded and parking fills up. From the Blue Eye, 40 minutes south brings you to Butrint, near the Greek border. The road follows the Bistritsa River through a narrowing valley, then opens into a wide plain with Lake Butrint shimmering ahead. Butrint is Albania's most significant archaeological site, a UNESCO World Heritage location where Greek, Roman, Byzantine and Venetian civilizations layered on top of one another over 2,500 years. Virgil mentioned it, Caesar stationed troops here, and still most travellers planning Mediterranean holidays have never heard of it. The ruins spread across a peninsula surrounded by lagoon waters, and the setting alone justifies the trip. Ancient walls rising from dense vegetation, light flickering through the trees on 3 sides. You walk from a Greek theatre to a Roman bath complex to a Byzantine basilica with intact floor mosaics to a Venetian watchtower, all within an hour's loop trail. It's compact enough for families with younger children, though some paths are uneven in places. Entry costs around 1,000 lek, roughly €8. Hiring a guide at the entrance is worthwhile. The layers of history are dense, and the signage, while improving year by year, still leaves gaps in the narrative. Allow at least 2 hours, and bring water. Shade coverage is inconsistent across the site. We've spent days now in Albania's mountain interior and ancient ruins. Everything has already overturned whatever preconceptions you arrived with. But the coast is where Albania's transformation becomes impossible to argue with. 20 minutes north of Butrint, Ksamil delivers the image that has been slowly going viral on travel feeds. Small, white sand beaches, water so transparent it looks digitally saturated, and a cluster of tiny islands just offshore that you can swim to or kayak to. Corfu sits directly across the channel. On a clear day, the Greek island is right there, close enough to make out individual buildings. The comparison writes itself. Greek quality beaches at Albanian prices. A sunbed and umbrella for the day runs €5 to €8. Lunch at a beachfront restaurant, grilled fish, tomato salad, fresh bread, a cold corcha beer comes to maybe €10 a person. July and August bring crowds of Albanian and Kosovar vacationers, and the main beaches can feel packed. June and September are the window, warm enough for easy swimming, far fewer people, lower guesthouse prices. For quieter stretches, even in peak season, walk south past the main beach strips towards the rocky coves. 15 minutes up the coast from Ksamil, Sarandë is the largest town on the southern Albanian coastline. It works better as a base and a standalone destination, a curved promenade lined with palm trees, a harbour with regular ferries to Corfu, and solid, if unexceptional, seafood restaurants along the waterfront. The draw above town is Llogara Castle, where the sunset panorama stretches across the bay to Butrint's lagoon. It's a short drive or a steep 30-minute walk, and the restaurant inside the castle walls is exactly the right place to sit with a glass of wine while the sky turns copper. North from Sarandë, the coastal road begins to climb, and the Albanian Riviera reveals what it actually is beneath the surface. 30 minutes along, a side road drops to Porto Palermo, a bay so perfectly enclosed it resembles a private lake. Rising from the waterline stands an Ottoman fortress built by Ali Pasha in the early 19th century. You can walk the battlements for a couple of euros, but the deeper story lies underneath. During the communist decades, Hoxha selected this bay as a secret submarine base, boring tunnels into the surrounding hills to hide military vessels from satellite detection. The submarines are long gone, but the tunnels remain, and a few local operators now run kayak tours through them. You paddle into a dark, echoing cavern that once sheltered Cold War submarines and emerge back into blinding Adriatic light. The bay itself is a swimming spot, nearly deserted most days, the water deep and startlingly clear. A dictator's paranoia accidentally preserved one of the loveliest bays on the Albanian coast. The road north from Porto Palermo climbs sharply along the cliffs toward the Riviera's most celebrated stretch of sand. Vermi is the name that comes up first when anyone discusses Albania's coast. The village itself perches high on a hillside among olive groves, but the beach below, a long crescent of white pebbles backed by pine-forested cliffs, is what draws people south. Walk 10 minutes north along the shore and you reach Drymades, where the atmosphere loosens, a scattering of beach bars built from driftwood and salvaged pallets, hammocks slung between trees, and a younger, more international crowd. Kayak rentals run about €10 an hour, and the sea caves along the base of the cliffs reward a slow paddle. The beach bars serve grilled corn, fresh salads and seafood at prices that still feel like a pleasant mistake by Mediterranean standards. And evening here, as the sun drops behind the headland and the lanterns come on along the shore, carries a particular warmth. The sound of waves mixing with low music, the smell of charcoal and salt air, the sky going from gold to deep blue. If you have one sunset on the Albanian Riviera, Drymades earns it. From Dermi, the road climbs steeply one final time toward the moment that brought the whole journey into focus. Llogara Pass sits at just over 1,000 metres in the Sarandë mountains, and to reach it you drive a series of tight switchbacks as the Adriatic falls away below. From the viewpoints along the road, the panorama opens wide, the entire Albanian Riviera stretched beneath you, turquoise water against white rock with the shadowed mass of Corfu floating on the horizon. This is the same country most of the world still associates with its communist past. Stand at the edge of Llogara, and that old narrative dissolves completely. At the summit, a national park covers the mountain ridge. Marked hiking trails wind through pine and fir forests, where the air runs noticeably cooler, welcome relief from the coastal heat. The most popular trail takes about 2 hours and leads to a viewpoint directly above the beach at Dermy, a vertical kilometre below. Paragliders launch from Llogara regularly, catching thermals and spiralling down to the shore. A tandem flight with a local operator costs around 50 to 70 euros, and you land on the beach at Palace with the whole Riviera spread beneath you. Several restaurants at the pass serve spit-roasted lamb and mountain tea with local honey. Lunch at a rough wooden table overlooking half of southern Albania might be the meal you remember longest from this trip, and it runs about 8 euros. The pass descends to Vlorë on the northern side, the city where Albanian independence was declared in 1912. The Independence Museum tells that story with genuine force. Vlorë itself is a working port, grittier and more practical than the Riviera towns to its south, but the long waterfront promenade fills with life each evening, and the harbour restaurants serve fish that was in the sea hours earlier. From Vlorë, ferries cross to Brindisi in southern Italy, and the road north returns to Tirana in about 2 hours, closing the loop. Albania isn't what the old reputation prepared me for. That much was clear within a day. But what surprised me most wasn't the water or the ruins or the €5 lamb dinners. It was a country that knows exactly what it has and feels no particular urgency to explain itself to the rest of Europe. The concrete bunkers still dot the hillsides, rounded and strange, relics of a nervous era. Between them, a coastline that competes with anything in the Mediterranean is opening up, slowly, on its own terms. Albania doesn't need to become the next Greece or the next Croatia. It's becoming something of its own, and in 2026, the window to see it like this is still wide open.
Like, if this was interesting, hit the subscribe for more and turn that notification bell on.